Hare Krishna. Welcome back to another daily reading. We're continuing in Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 10, text 21. So we're going to pick up where we left off yesterday, and we have our local pundit, stalwart Bhakta Adam, Billy the Kid. Hare Krishna. All right. And that's it for today so far. So we'll see if anybody tunes in or shows up. So we're going to do a little kirtan, then we're going to dive into Bhagavad Gita. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavani Astatya Nishutarine
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavani Astatya Nishutarine
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Where I grew up, there's this guy, he said something funny once, and it became like, everybody would kind of make fun of him. And he said, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. So I was like, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone. We're continuing in Bhagavad Gita as it is. Chapter 10, text 21. But first we're going to do the Mangalacharana prayers on page 1. And so follow along if you would like. Hare Krishna. Om Vijnana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtang Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savarutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Bhaktitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Mukham Karoti Vachalang Pongong Lang Kaite Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurundi Natanam. I'm gonna try to, that's not gonna work. Yeah, that's alright. The door's open, it was bothering me, but don't worry about it, it's alright. I was gonna see if I could reach it, but. Okay. Alright. Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 10, text 21. Adityanam maham Vishnur Jyotisham Ravirang Shuman Marichir Marutam Asmi Nakshatranam maham Shashi. Of the Adityas I am Vishnu. Of lights I am the radiant sun. Of the Maruts I am Marichi. And among the stars I am the moon. Purport. There are 12 Adityas, of which Krishna is the principal. Among all the luminaries shining in the sky, the sun is the chief. And in the Brahma Samhita, the sun is accepted as the glowing eye of the Supreme Lord. There are 50 varieties of wind blowing in space, and of these winds, the controlling deity, Marichi, represents Krishna. Among the stars, the moon is the most prominent at night, and thus the moon represents Krishna. It appears from this verse that the moon is one of the stars. Therefore, the stars that twinkle in the sky also reflect the light of the sun. The theory that there are many suns within the universe is not accepted by Vedic literature. The sun is one, and as by the reflection of the sun, the moon illuminates, so also do the stars. Since Bhagavad Gita indicates herein that the moon is one of the stars, the twinkling stars are not suns, but are similar to the moon. Vedanam samavedasmi devanam asmi vasavaha indriyanam manaschasmi bhutanam asmi chaitana. Of the Vedas I am the Samaveda, of the demigods I am Indra, the king of heaven. Of the senses I am the mind, and in living beings I am the living force, consciousness. Purport. The difference between matter and spirit is that matter has no consciousness like the living entity. Therefore, this consciousness is supreme and eternal. Consciousness cannot be produced by a combination of matter. Rudanam Shankaraschasmi Vitesha Yaksha Rakshasam Asunam Pavakaschasmi Merusi Karinamaham. Of all the Rudras I am Lord Shiva. Of the Yakshas and Rakshasas I am the Lord of Wealth, Kuvera. Of the Vasus I am fire, Agni, and of mountains I am Meru. Purport. There are 11 Rudras, of whom Shankar, Lord Shiva, is predominant. He is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord in charge of the mode of ignorance in the universe. The leader of the Yakshas and Rakshasas is Kuvera, the master treasurer of the demigods. And he is a representation of the Supreme Lord. Meru is a mountain famed for its rich natural resources. 24. Purodhasam chamukyam mam vidiparta brihaspatim Senani namaham skanda sarasam asmi sagaraha. Of priests, O Arjuna, know me to be the chief Brihaspati. Of generals, I am Kartikeya, and of bodies of water, I am the ocean. Purport. Indra is the chief demigod of the heavenly planets and is known as the king of the heavens. The planet on which he reigns is called Indraloka. Brihaspati is Indra's priest. And since Indra is the chief of all kings, Brihaspati is the chief of all priests. And as Indra is the chief of all kings, similarly, Skanda, or Kartikeya, the son of Parvati and Lord Shiva, is the chief of all military commanders. And of all bodies of water, the ocean is the greatest. These representations of Krishna only give hints of his greatness. Maharshinam Braguraham Giram Asmyekam Aksharam Yajnanam Japa Savaranam Himalaya. So anytime if I mess up, if you're going, you don't have to stop. I'll pick up where if you keep the flow going, just if you want.
Okay.
You don't gotta break it because of me. I'll just flow with you. Of the great sages, I am Brigu. Of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names, Japa. And of immovable things, I am the Himalayas. Purport. Brahma, the first living creature within the universe, created several sons for the propagation of various kinds of species. Among these sons, Brigu is the most powerful sage. Of all the transcendental vibrations, Omkar, represents Krishna. Of all sacrifices, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the purest representation of Krishna. Sometimes animal sacrifices are recommended, but in the sacrifice of Hare Krishna, there is no question of violence. It is the simplest and purest. Whatever is sublime in the worlds is a representation of Krishna. Therefore, the Himalayas, the greatest mountains in the world, also represent him. The mountain named Meru was mentioned in a previous verse, but Meru is sometimes movable, whereas the Himalayas are never movable. Thus, the Himalayas are greater than Meru. Ashpata sarva vrakshanam devarshinam janarada gandharvanam jadarata siddhanam kapilo munihi. Of all trees, I am the banyan tree, and of the sages among the demigods, I am Narada. Of the Gandharvas, I am Chitrarat, and among perfected beings, I am the sage Kapila. Purport. The banyan tree, Ashvata, is one of the highest and most beautiful trees, and people in India often worship it as one of their daily morning rituals. Amongst the demigods, they also worship Narada, who is considered the greatest devotee in the universe. Thus he is the representation of Krishna as a devotee. The Gandharva planet is filled with entities who sing beautifully, and among them the best singer is Chitrarat. Amongst the perfect living entities, Kapila, the son of Devahuti, is a representative of Krishna. He is considered an incarnation of Krishna, and his philosophy is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Later on, another Kapila became famous, but his philosophy was atheistic. Thus, there is a gulf of difference between them. Chaishravasam asvanam vidimamam ratodbhavam airavatam gajendranam naranam cha naradhipam. Of horses know me to be Uchaishrava, produced during the turning of the ocean for nectar. Of lordly elephants I am Airavata, and among men I am the monarch. Purport. The devotee demigods and the demons, Asuras, once took part in churning the sea. From this churning, nectar and poison were produced, and Lord Shiva drank the poison. From the nectar were produced many entities, of which there was a horse named Uchaishrava. Another animal produced from the nectar was an elephant named Airavata. Because these two animals were produced from nectar, they have special significance, and they are representatives of Krishna. Amongst the human beings, the king is the representative of Krishna because Krishna is the maintainer of the universe. And the kings who are appointed on account of their godly qualifications are maintainers of their kingdoms. Kings like Maharaj Yudhisthira, Maharaj Parikshit, and Lord Rama were all highly righteous kings who always thought of the citizens' welfare. In Vedic literature, the king is considered to be the representative of God. In this age, however, with the corruption of the principles of religion, monarchy decayed and is now finally abolished. It is to be understood that in the past, however, people were more happy under righteous kings. Ayudhanam aham vajram dinunam asmi kamadhuk prajanaschasmi kandarpa sarpanam asmi vasukihi. Of weapons I am the thunderbolt, among cows I am the surabhi. Of causes for procreation I am Kandarpa, the god of love, and of serpents I am Vasuki. Purport. The thunderbolt, indeed a mighty weapon, represents Krishna's power. In Krishna Loka, in the spiritual sky, there are cows which can be milked at any time, and they give as much milk as one likes. Of course, such cows do not exist in this material world, but there is mention of them in Krishna Loka. The Lord keeps many such cows, which are called surabhi. It is stated that the Lord is engaged in herding the surabhi cows. Kandarpa is the sex desire for presenting good sons. Therefore, Kandarpa is the representative of Krishna. Sometimes sex is engaged in only for sense gratification. Such sex does not represent Krishna, but sex for the generation of good children is called Kandarpa and represents Krishna. Anantaschasmi naganam varuna yadasamaham pitranam maryamachasmi yamasam yamatamaham. Of the many-hooded Nagas I am Ananta, and among the aquatics I am the demigod Varuna. Of departed ancestors I am Aryama, and among the dispensers of law I am Yama, the Lord of Death. Purport. Among the many-hooded Naga serpents, Ananta is the greatest, as is the demigod Varuna among the aquatics. They both represent Krishna. There is also a planet of Pitas, ancestors, presided over by Aryama, who represents Krishna. There are many living entities who give punishment to the miscreants, and among them Yama is the chief. Yama is situated in a planet near this earthly planet. After death, those who are very sinful are taken there, and Yama arranges different kinds of punishments for them. Prahladascha daityanam kalakalayatamaham Marganam cha margendroyam painateyascha pakshinam. Among the Daitya demons I am the devoted Prahlad. Among subduers of I am time. Among beasts I am the lion, and among birds I am Garuda. Purport. Diti and Aditi are two sisters. The sons of Aditi are Adityas, and the sons of Diti are called Daityas. All the Adityas are devotees of the Lord, and all the Daityas are atheistic. Although Prahlad was born in the family of the Daityas, he was a great devotee from his childhood. Because of his devotional service and godly nature, he is considered to be a representative of Krishna. There are many subduing principles, but time wears down all things in the material universe, and so represents Krishna. Of the many animals, the lion is the most powerful and ferocious, and of the million varieties of birds, Garuda, the bearer of Lord Vishnu, is the greatest. Pavana pavatamasmi ramashashtra pratamaham Jasanam makarasasmi shrutasamasmi janavi. Of purifiers I am the wind, of the wielders of weapons I am Rama, of fishes I am the shark, and of flowing rivers I am the Ganges. Purport. Of all the aquatics, the shark is one of the biggest and is certainly the most dangerous to man. Thus the shark represents Krishna. Sarganam madhyarantascha madhyam javaham arjuna adyatma vidya vidyanam varabhavatamaham. Of all creations, I am the beginning and the end and also the middle, O Arjuna. If all of all sciences, I am the spiritual science of the self, and among logicians, I am the conclusive truth. Purport. Among the created manifestations, the first is the creation of the total material elements. As explained before, the cosmic manifestation is created and conducted by Mahavishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, and Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. And then again it is annihilated by Lord Shiva. Brahma is a secondary creator. All these agents of creation, maintenance, and annihilation are incarnations of the material qualities of the Supreme Lord. Therefore he is the beginning, the middle, and the end of all creation. For advanced education there are various kinds of books of knowledge, such as the four Vedas, their 6 supplements, the Vedanta Sutra, books of logic, books of religiosity, and the Puranas. So altogether there are 14 divisions of books of education. Of these, the book which presents Adhyatma Vidya, spiritual knowledge, in particular, the Vedanta Sutra, represents Krishna. Among logicians there are different kinds of argument. Supporting one's argument with evidence that also supports the opposing side is called Jalpa. Merely trying to defeat one's opponent is called Vitanda, but the actual conclusion is called Vad. This conclusive truth is a representation of Krishna. Aksharanam makarosmi dvandvasamashikasya cha aham vivakshaya kalo dataham visvato mukha. Of letters, I am the letter A, and among compound words, I am the dual compound. I am also inexhaustible time, and of creators, I am Brahma. I wonder if he mentions Pavarga and Apavarga in this purport. Maybe not. Purport. Akar. The first letter of the Sanskrit alphabet is the beginning of the Vedic literature. Without Akara, nothing can be sounded. Therefore, it is the beginning of sound. In Sanskrit, there are also many compound words, of which the dual word, like Rama, Krishna, is called Dvandva. In this compound, the words Rama and Krishna have the same form, and therefore the compound is called dual. Among all kinds of killers, time is the ultimate because time kills everything. Time is the representative of Krishna because in due course of time, there will be a great fire and everything will be annihilated. Among the living entities who are creators, Brahma, who has 4 heads, is the chief. Therefore, he is a representative of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Mrityu sarvaharashchaham udbhavascha bhavishyatam kirti shrirvakchanarinam smritir medhadati kshama. I am all-devouring death, and I am the generating principle of all that is yet to be. Among women, I am fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. Purport. As soon as a man is born, he dies at every moment. Thus death is devouring every living entity at every moment. But the last stroke is called death itself. That death is Krishna. As for future development, all living entities undergo 6 basic changes. They are born, they grow, they remain for some time, they reproduce, they dwindle, and finally they vanish. Of these changes, the first is deliverance from the womb, and that is Krishna. The first generation is the beginning of all future activities. The 7 opulences listed, fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience, are considered feminine. If a person possesses all of them or some of them, he becomes glorious. If a man is famous as a righteous man, that makes him glorious. Sanskrit is a perfect language and is therefore very glorious. If after studying one cannot remember a subject matter, If after studying one can remember a subject matter, he is gifted with a good memory, or smriti, and the ability not only to read many books on different subject matters, but to understand them and apply them when necessary is intelligence, medha, another opulence. The ability to overcome unsteadiness is called firmness or steadfastness, driti, and when one is fully qualified yet is humble and gentle, and when one is able to keep his balance both in sorrow and in the ecstasy of joy, he has the opulence called patience, kshama. Very nice. That's a nice definition of patience.
One is fully qualified, yet is humble and gentle, and when one is able to keep his balance, both in sorrow and in the ecstasy of joy, he has the opulence called patience.
Mm.
Overcome unsteadiness.
Hmm?
So Dhriti is what I've been doing. It's kind of different from what I thought.
Yeah. Let's see here. In the verse itself, Driti is firmness, which is interesting.
Dhriti is firmness. Firmness or steadfastness. Firmness is what it says. Dhriti.
Yeah, becoming steadfast, becoming firm, as opposed to going here and there.
Yeah.
Overcome unsteadiness. Yeah. In other words, Dira. At least partially. Yeah, Dira knows. Dira is. I know he. Dira is the seer of truth. He can understand the difference between what is material and what is spiritual. But it's by that knowledge that one is become steady.
It's interesting. How so? How does that knowledge come in?
Well, because the material world in its own nature is unsteady and always fluctuating and changing. So for one to apply the transcendental knowledge means they become steady in an unsteady world. Like there's even in the mind, I mean everything, it's always fluctuating. There's always happiness and then there's distress and it's always back and forth, and everything's always constantly changing, and it goes good today and then tomorrow's a difficult one, and it's just how it is in the material world. So like true steadiness is really transcendental to the whole nature of the material world. I mean, of course, there's different levels of it. One can become a certain level of, achieve a certain level of stability in other ways.
But Dhira.
Adira means on the transcendental platform. Being able to understand the difference between material and spiritual. Right.
I guess it's pretty rare. Is that rare even among devotees?
Well, devotees themselves are on the transcendental platform. They are
Okay.
Dhira. But, there's different levels of devotees. Some may be more than others.
Okay.
Yeah, Dhira. What's that verse say? Dhiras tatra amuyati. That's the verse I was trying. Na tvevaham jatu nasam na tvam neme janati pahana chaiva na bhavishyama sarve vayamato param. Dhiras tatra amuyati dhira, the sober. Any man who has perfect knowledge of the constitution of the individual soul, the supersoul in nature, both material and spiritual, is called a dhira, or a most sober man. Such a man is never deluded by the change of bodies.
That's like a goal I've had. I've always told myself, ever since I saw this squirrel get run over, I'd never seen an entity die or lose its body, and then I saw a squirrel get run over. Ever since that, because it affected me. And it was, long story short, I started thinking like, wow, I need to really prepare for like when my parents pass or when my grandpa passes. It's gonna be like,
Yeah.
So scripture is what I need. Very enchanting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll just share, I guess, the more transcendental knowledge we have, and the more we're meditating and trying to understand transcendental knowledge, death can be understood in a way that can soften the the I don't know, emotional response by having that understanding, But at the same time, depending on how deeply we're realized, losing a loved one is always usually always difficult. there's always some deep ties, deep attachments and things that. I mean, even if you don't even talk, even if you don't even get along with them, and you don't even like them, and you don't even you don't even talk to a close relative. If you didn't talk to them for 10 years and then they pass away, then most of the time you still feel the separation and stuff.
So it isn't that that one verse in chapter 2 about not lamenting is just like the standard for devotees.
Yeah, lamenting is one thing, but feeling the separation, and there's like a natural connectedness to certain people, and when they die, depending on your realization, it can be sometimes an intense experience. But when you have transcendental knowledge, you know how to process it, and sometimes it doesn't have to be either. But if you're like really, really realized, you just see it for what it is. It's like actually probably a good thing. Like, they got rid of that old stinky broken down body, and now they're gonna have a better one. Or if they're a devotee, then you're like, oh man, they're having a blast. Serving Krishna somewhere. It's like not really such a big deal, but in our culture over here, it's like so almost taboo to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you make that distinction between lamentation and
Separation?
Yeah.
Well, let's look. Well, I can't. Well, just having there's a lamentation has an attachment aspect to it. Like you're lamenting the past, like, oh, I wish it would have been like this, or oh, I could have did this, or oh, like there's a difference between like feeling a feeling of separation, like okay, but still like not being like so attached, in your mind, or like you're not so attached to the body, or you're not really necessarily lamenting that they're gone, but still feeling the separation since they left. You know what I mean? Like not necessarily like regretting that they're gone or lamenting it.
I see.
But you're still like feeling like, oh,
Okay.
like oh, it tends to be a mixed emotion type of event.
That's actually probably a very helpful bit of information for me because I was ready to like try and like absorb myself in this idea that you just shouldn't cry or care too much.
No, you should. I mean, if you do, you do. If you don't, you don't.
Right.
But it's like not try to stifle it or something. If you do, it's like it's natural.
I think you just alleviated some stifling in the future.
Yeah, it's natural to have those feelings, So let them, you have to process it. Yeah, take the time, space, process it. If you need to cry or something. Honestly, like I'll share just personally, I have had multiple close people die, and I almost like felt concerned that I didn't cry more or anything. Like I probably should be crying more. It's just not the way I express it.
Yeah. But even among like someone who says strong intention as you, it's still like
you still feel it.
Still feel it.
Yeah, as far as I know, I especially in the particular times when these individuals pass away, I was really, really fixed up, and really absorbed in Bhagavatam and everything, and I didn't really necessarily feel affected, but definitely felt some separation. One of them passed away. I mean, we had a pretty rocky relationship, and they weren't even. We didn't have really that great of a relationship, but still, when they did, I still felt the same kind of separation.
Yeah.
But I had Krishna gave me some insights about the situation that was kind of cool. So it's just like It's like, okay, you know, I mean, it was, I don't know. For me personally, it's just kind of like part of life, you know. And for some people, though, you know, some people experience a lot of separation while they're alive, and all kinds of tragedies and all kinds of heavy events constantly. And, you know, so like heavy events for some people is like another day walking in the park or whatever. And then, you know, some people, they don't experience those kind of things. And then when they finally do happen, it's the first time they experience that kind of heartache or whatever it is, you know, separation. But, you know, happens to everybody at some point or another. Yeah, I had experienced as a kid like parents separating and stuff at a very young age, like 3 years old or something. And then you know, I grew up in that environment. And then when I was older, like 19, 20 years old, I had a friend, and his parents remained together, and I would go visit him, and it was like um, it was just like kind of like different to me the way that they lived. And then within a few years, his parents divorced whenever he was in his 20s. And then he had to process that. And it was interesting to see him go through it and process it. And it totally changed his life. You know, he was really good in a lot of ways, and then he ended up becoming an alcoholic. And I ended up not really being friends with him anymore. So it was interesting to see, you know, how one was affected by that, or he was, and you know, it's interesting how, you know, people have different karmas, people go through different things, and they process things differently. They have different desires based on where they're going, you know. So yeah, anyway, but if we, you know, if we're hearing Prabhupada's teaching, it can give us a lot of spiritual strength, you know, to understand these kind of things like death and going through it, processing it,
Right.
process it with, you know, with Krishna consciousness, and it's a quite different. I had a friend who had a close relative pass away when I was a brahmachari, and childhood friend, and they invited me to come to the funeral, and I went, and I was on a kind of different wavelength than pretty much everybody else.
I can imagine that was probably.
Yeah, but that's Prabhupada's grace, mercy. You know, we can understand things. You know? It doesn't mean that you don't feel, you know, some kind of pain or something. You know, it's just like. You know, that Bhajan Jaya Nilo Premadana Karuna Prachor. The separation from the Vaishnavas. You know, just like the disappearance day of, you know, our acharyas, Srila Prabhupada. You know, different acharyas. The mood tends to be kind of a bittersweet mood.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's like we have this knowledge, we understand this higher knowledge, but at the same time, from where we're at now, in this being embodied and being here on this plane, we also experience the separation of them going, you know. It's natural. For our circumstance here, it's really interesting to observe in oneself. I know for me it was like, you know, feeling like I couldn't really be any more detached from certain relationships, and actually being surprised, like, man, yeah, I'm surprised I was feeling this way, you know. Okay. It's almost like just inherent in the body. Yeah, like it was like deep ties karmically or what have you. And you know, the souls that we tend to run with life after life, we tend to run with the same souls life after life, like sticks bumping into each other, floating down a river. Like you come together and you float apart and come together. So like, yeah, your family members, your friends, and this and that. It's not like set in stone, but generally, you'll kind of like be a, kind of like be like traveling down river together as like logs do, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like there's like deep attachments there, specific people and relationships and whatnot. Yeah. It's probably a good stopping place. We have a little bit of time before our kirtan, and got some duties to do. So anyway, thank everybody online for tuning in and watching on YouTube later. Thank you, Bhakta Adam, hearing and chanting ecstatically. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for enlightening us. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, vancha kalpa tarubhyascha, kripa sindhubhya eva cha, patitanam pavanebhya, vaishnavebhya namo namaha, ananta koti vaishnava vrinda ki Krishna. Yeah. So, alright, we'll be here tomorrow, same time, same place. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Just take me 1 second. Alright, Hare Bo, Hare Krishna.